Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. I was just defeated in this game. I had an opportunity uh, about halfway through to that would have won the game for me. Let's see, right about here, I chose to play Bishop G6 when, of course, the move play this out in practice. And it's one of those ones you want to get out of your system because um, it happened, and then right away I realized, ooh, blunder, blunder, blunder. So here with black to move. We would, of course, play uh, knight b3 check. And after my opponent cleans up the checking piece and the rook, we have an advantage. Just one pawn in advantage. It wasn't the whole game here or there, but I would like to pick up on those types of tactics. They usually do. Now we go back to here. We see how strong the game was. Actually, let's do that later and start a game now. I'm playing game in 3 minutes so far today. It's not all that accurate a game. It looks like I had two serious. Oh, in time pressure, yeah. So this rook b8's a bad move. Bishop takes b8. I don't know how to explain it. It's a time pressure move. Let's go to this point where black was still accurate. Black to move here. Look, the idea is back rank is safe, Jordan. No, that's me. I'm more gravity, but my real name's Jordan. The back rank is just very safe. So, which that should signal, even under time pressure, that should signal for me to kind of keep these guys where they are. And maybe make a move like h6 at some point in time, just in case. But yeah, you don't want to be moving your pawns around because you move pawn to f5 and queen to g7 is checkmate. Yikes. But the real thing to notice is that the back rank is safe, just as it is. It's not to push too much pressure. Good moves here are like queen takes c2. You know, we're starting to get in where we might hassle white's rook, though we have to understand that this bishop is strong on the large diagonal. We'll gather yet another piece of material, and we want to make this move, quick, and then make a pre-move after it. Here, and then here, and then here, or something like that. Keep off the dark squares where the bishop might attack. It depends on how you. A lot of it depends on how you utilize your pre-moves. But in a slow game, in this position, we'll probably still play queen takes c2. And then wait. If opponent takes time, we ponder. It's what computer speak has for computing on your calculating on your opponent's turn. I think it's recommended for humans too. More so, the quicker the game. Yeah, so there's not all that much going on in this position. Let's offer a queen trade. We've pushed the queen to a less good square for white. It is b7 was strong with the threat of things all along the 7th rank, but here on b4 the queen is not quite as active. I'm going to choose to use that inferior positioning to play a5. Just a solid, quieter move to subtly improve black's position. Now with queen at d2, pushing a5 just give my opponent more moves for free with the queen. We might have. She's starting to look more menacingly towards black's king side. That I don't like. The moves that scare me here that white might play soon include queen to g5. Then I have to, I have to mess with my pawn structure in response. Just want to do it. f6 is good because it forks the two pieces, and so okay. But more broadly speaking, if f6 isn't available, like say this bishop is here and the queen moves to g5, then I've got to make this move pawn to g6, and it's weakening my dark squares around my weakening the dark squares around my king. So this is a queen d2 was a strong move by my computer opponent. I almost want to make f6 happen right now. It seems like there's almost enough goodness in f6 to allow it to happen right now. So let's calculate. It looks like a good move that could push my opponent's bishop away. But what if bishop d6, winning a tempo of initiative against my rook? I have a four-piece advantage, but like I said, that advantage is, on the human side of things. Think of it this way: my opponent has a queen, a rook, a bishop, and multiple pawns. I have a queen, a rook, and multiple pawns. And yes, I have two. What do I have? Two extra pawns than my opponent. So that is a weighty, but this position is loaded. The board is mostly open. What else? We noticed that both sides have potential back rank issues. White more so than black. The king's nudged in the corner. Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say. Because both sides have back rank issues. I would say, yeah, white more than black. Not based on king position, though, but based on how many. We got 1, 2, 3. Peter Pan that Brie. And that's triple coverage on the back rank, whereas white only has really the rook and then the queen adding a little bit extra. So all this is sort of built up. This would be a move I'd take a long time on in a tournament game. I'm just kind of explaining things out loud. Therefore, does black have any tactical shots? Not likely against the computer in this position. But we play queen to c4, maybe hitting at the a2 pawn, and we're gonna push this pawn onto a dark colored square because a4 would lose another pawn. So it's not, my opponent's not going to respond with a4, but pawn to a3 puts more pawns on dark squares, and that will interfere with my opponent's bishop, and my rooks won't really care. So queen c4 looks like a good option here. There's no knockout punch. I'm pretty sure about that. So let's do queen c4. Yeah, so queen c4 was a huge blunder. Let's just let it demonstrate why this is such a blunder. Well, king takes. Yes. And the repetition of position here will give white the draw. I'm sorry about that. So like I said, f6. It turns out to be best move. I don't like, weakening these squares, but it's a lot better than draw by repetition when you're up almost a rook. My opponent played bishop to d4. I just continue to push that bishop back. And then again with after bishop to c3, we continue to play against that bishop. What I'm working on here in my game is using threats to shape the position in my favor. Queen to a6 looks like a good one. The bishop moves or is backed up here. Now this is strong in terms of bishop and pawn, but it also leaves white's a5 bishop without all that much influence in terms of scope. Question here, I want to know if I should play. What I'm thinking is queen c4, just with the dominant position of the queen, but then the rook can slide in immediately, so maybe that's not all that great. So instead I'll play rook to c8. I'm okay with doubling on the c file here, even with the queen in the lead. Normally you want a rook in the lead when it's a battery, and if it's a triple you want a rook, queen, rook. It's the first rook sort of busts down the doors, like here on h3. You get these pawns, and then the queen comes in thereafter for a check move, but the queen can't be captured by like some strange rook here, or at least it's not a good capture because the queen can't be captured by the king. Is usually the case because the rook's on h8. So rook, queen, rook means you've tripled on a file, and usually there's a reason for doing so, and that's part of why it's so extremely awesome and powerful. All right, rook to d1. Here with white. Here with black to move, Jordan. I think here white will exchange it. Yeah. So just to demonstrate before my computer shows this right away, white's gonna exchange here because there are too many threats. Black's queen position is too strong, too dominant. She has way too much mobility. There's too much for white to deal with just to not trade pieces. Here on g3, this is an incredibly strong position for the queen. That's one possibility. There's doubling on the c file. That can't be sniffled at. If white wants to push this pawn, then the bishop might become attacked, although I guess he already is on the a file by the rook. But the queen here is too strong. And to what options does white have? Queen to b2, queen to f1. She's backpedaling, so I agree with the computer move here, which is to swap on e3. Alright, so this is my turn. Of course, we're going to capture back and probably have to find ways to keep our pawns safe. Shoot down. Now this is probably a one king and pawn endgame. Doesn't mean I have the exact formula for proving that, but we're going to give it a go. I need my rook back to patrol the 7th, and we're going to see if I can make my king very active against, well, in the game. Okay, so that busted that against best play. Let's give it another go. G5 was a mistake. We have things a little bit quieter here already. My first inkling was pawn to e4 check. There's the idea of king to d4 or king to c4. King to c4 actually pushing the rook away. Yeah, I like king to c4. I'm looking at pawn to g5 and yet not finding a solution to counteract rook to g7. Oh, no, sorry. Pawn to g5, rook to f6. Now that I see. Okay, hey, talk the moves aloud. I would go closer towards my side, but there's really no need for that. And with the rook in place here. Yeah, so my opponent, the computer on Maximus decided to keep my king out of the game. So we go back towards this idea where we're fine right here. No. So we play rook to h4 and try to pick up on my opponent's pawns. Get this guy going. Get this guy going. Well, I have to admit, my friends, I'm not doing very well in this endgame. It's a very light hit. You should not do that. It's a bad thing to do. Okay. So in the game, we actually did I cover this? I think I kind of got on a wild goose chase there. I think we had the game as far as here. Oh yeah. So in the game as it occurred, just time pressure blunders. I lost a rook for no reason. My opponent lost his or her queen for no reason. Uh, just time pressure madness. I timed out my opponent. So that's one of the things to do. Okay. And here's the game played out with all this uh, endgame brouhaha. As that goes. Uh, that's fine. You know what I'm gonna do, my friends, is add this to my game collection. Endgame review live. High accuracy. These games. Alright. We have to close this window, this tab rather, We'll close this tab and play another game. I'm gonna play to win. I'm gonna play till win, and I'm gonna review that game. And that's something else should dictate otherwise. Game in 3, and we're ready. Okay, so otherwise. All right. Whew. Alright. Quick game, very accurate. And we'll play this out against computer. Can I win this against the computer on the maximum setting? Maybe. I'll try for now. Okay, so I'm gonna say probably not. So we got the win. The explanation, there isn't much explanation. Let's go for one more. Okay. 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 Relatively smooth in terms of the game chart. 81% bearable is okay. I made some mistakes here, crunched at the end. A blunder, a miss. Was that a miss and a miss, and my opponent's blunder? Let's take a look here. Right around here, white makes a blunder. No, okay. Black makes a blunder. White misses the blunder. And it's really mostly the end of this game that's all that inaccurate. So let's take a moment to go. Well, no, because it's at a draw before the blunders are made. So going through it just shows this is how Jordan messes up a draw against the computer, against CPU, Torch 4. So that wouldn't be very fun for any of us, really. So we'll review the game as it was, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on this review. You see these corner tactics that arise out of things like the Scandinavian defense. I think one of them is called this accelerated Panov attack. There's versions of the French with the Steiner variation that often lead to this tempting play against Black's queen at d5. You develop on c3 with tempo. That's got to be good. And then the queen goes to d8 or a5 and sometimes to e5. And here my opponent chose to go back to d8. It's a fine move. And I played d4. And the point of these, what I would stress here for white, is you do indeed want to take advantage of this check, but just don't go out there and throw it away right away willy-nilly. Pawn to c6, would push the bishop back from whence thou came. So instead you want to get your d pawn in position to bully the c6 square. Right? And white, this didn't happen in this game, so it's not the greatest. But the point is, in a lot of times, if white can get in pawn to d5, then play bishop to b5 check, and in some versions, then play queen to a4. We can't hear because of the pawns in the way, but then you want to get these two lined up. You got help on c6. In some variations, this knight is helping out, but he might be delivering the final blow with a move to c7 with check. This occurs, and then knight to f3, knight to e5 can also put pressure on c6 in 2 moves and capture in 3. So there's a lot of the positioning of a lot of the pieces, just how the start of chess is. The c6 square might be targeted. Exchanges, developing, castling. I'm looking for something here after bishop d3. I was looking for something a little bit active or like a pin, get things going. I said, can't find it. We'll have a safe king instead. So kingside castles. The queen's getting more active. The pin on the e5 pawn is there. Queenside castles was a surprise. And I think I did well with bishop a6. And I see here now that Torch agrees. Bishop a6 to this bishop is just way too powerful to leave there. And I'd like to get my queen in on the action here on a6. But my opponent knows better than to trade bishops without a fight. So instead of trading bishops, where I would instigate a bishop trade, the king comes here and he's helping to control things. Where my opponent would instigate a trade, I'm recapturing with check and heavy pressure against Black's king. So, so my opponent was wise not to initiate the trade. But I played 95. It's probably some kind of tactical boo-boo. Let's take a look at the analysis side of things. It looks like Black is just maybe better off. Maybe Black is just better off. Queen trade. Well, okay. That's fine. Let's move on. And now we're at the point where I said this is, you know, you look at moves 17 through 23. Those account for 7 full moves, and it's mistake, miss, blunder. You know, you don't want to. I'm not going to spend time analyzing when it's quite that inaccurate. So what am I doing here as white with a after this point winning a huge material swing? Well, just because checkmate presented itself, so I took it. I could have been going for the rook, and I was. I also realized, like the moment or two before I placed the queen, that this was actually checkmate. So, it's a good game. It was a fine game. It was a good game. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.